Did you expect the big difference of 42 seconds between Evenepoel and Roglic after the time trial?
No.
Was Jonathan Milan winning stage 2 a surprise to you?
Yes.
Should Caden Gross have lost his third place after stage 2?
No.
Is the team of Soudal-QuickStep strong enough to support Evenepoel for 3 weeks?
No.
I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
Buongiorno Girini. As we're recording this new episode of Domestique Cycling Podcast, stage 4 of Giro d'Italia is already done and dusted. The aerobullet destroying the field during the opening individual time trial, Jonathan Milan surprising the cycling world, Michael Matthews adding some bling to his palmarès, and Aurélien Paré-Peintre taking his first World Tour win. You hear it, we have a lot to talk about. Joining me today are Yves, Bram and Dieter. Welcome guys.
Good evening.
Hey. Yves, what are your first feelings after 4 days of Giro d'Italia?
I was quite hyped when the Giro started, and to be honest, I still am. Today we had the first small mountain test for the peloton, and that stage 4, those first 2 hours were mind-blowing to follow, and that's why I watch cycling.
Bram, you as the Remco Evenepoel expert, what's the biggest threat for the aerobullet at this point in the race?
He has to stay upright. I think that's the most important part. He still has one flat time trial to build out some extra time if he can. And then the mountain time trial where who knows what happens in that. But yeah, I think he can only be very happy with the first 4 days.
And last but not least, there's Dieter. Dieter, you're analyzing the power numbers for Domestique. Is this a strong Giro looking at the watts so far?
Yeah, definitely. In the time trial, McNulty did insane watts and then got like only 7th or 8th, and on a huge time gap too. Comparing with Evenepoel, Evenepoel did like 7 watts per kilo for 20 minutes. Around that, Caden Groves stage, huge watts for a sprinter. It's crazy what they need to put out to even get to the finish to sprint these days. And yeah, the numbers of the breakaway today, Ben Healy doing 6 watts per kilo normalized for 1.5 hours. And to not get in the break, that's crazy.
Alright guys, let's have a look at the first 4 stages of this Giro d'Italia. We started with an individual time trial, and as I said, Remco Evenepoel kind of destroyed the field. He beats Ghana by 12 seconds and Roglic by 43 or 42.
Ghana by 22.
Ghana by 22 even. Alright, that's even more impressive. Did you guys expect this?
That big of a time difference, no. I was together with you in the car on our way to an event, and before Remco and Roglic started, we were arguing a bit how much difference there would be between the two champions.
And I, of course, predicted 22 seconds on Ghana and 43 on Roglic.
No, you did not. You guessed it would be around the 10-second mark that Roglic was lose in comparison to Evenepoel, but already at the first intermediate we all knew what would happen.
Yeah, it was beyond my expectations, to be honest. How do you think Roglic, his feelings would have been after the time trial? He said he was positive, he felt good, but yeah, this is a mental game, right?
Yeah, I think the Jumbo quote was, "I'm feeling very optimistic after losing 43 seconds on your main competitor." I don't think that's something to be truly optimistic about with an even longer, flatter time trial still coming up. In 10 kilometers, he'd lost 29 seconds. That's just a huge amount of time. Maybe we'll see a a stronger Roglic in the mountains.
But when we dive into that stage results, Roglic didn't really rode a bad individual time trial. If he knew he would be around the Kung time at the end, for example, he would surely be happy about that. But the fact that Evenepoel rode 22 seconds faster than Ghana, a specialist in the individual time trial, it's Evenepoel who did something exceptional in that time trial and not Roglic riding a bad time trial.
I think so too. If you look, like I said, the watts from McNulty, already high watts, Roglic was faster. I think when Roglic looks at his watts from the time trial, it's like, how the fuck did Remco ride 43 seconds faster? I think it's like, it's not, as Yves says, it's not Roglic who is bad, because I saw a lot of people say that. It's Remco who's just mind-blowingly good in that time trial.
Yeah, but how can you be optimistic with that knowledge that you got blown away so hard?
You can't be pessimistic after the first day in the Giro knowing what's still on the menu.
He loses 43 seconds. There's 2 more time trials to come. Yeah, he'll have to attack.
Yeah.
Not just attack. It needs to be big.
But he knows a lot needs to happen to get that time back on Remco. Don't understand me wrong. But it's normal that Roglic says he's feeling optimistic because it's still 3 weeks. A lot is still on the menu, a lot of big mountains. And it's Evenepoel, so it's difficult to crawl back 40 seconds, yes, and even more after that second time trial probably. But you can't blame him saying he's optimistic, otherwise it would be a boring Giro if he already decides to ride for the second place.
That's true. In third and fourth place, we see the names of João Almeida and Tao Gegenhardt. Are these surprises to you?
I do think João Almeida rode a stronger time trial than I expected. I think in the early season, he was at a stage race, I forgot which one it was, and rode quite a mediocre time trial for his capabilities. He's known to be quite a strong time trialist, but he sort of maybe just did 1 or 2 bad ones. And yeah, I kind of forgot that he was such a strong time trialist. And with Tao Gegenhardt as well, he's just confirming that he's pretty much the leader for INEOS, although he did lose some time in later stages. But yeah, I think both of you guys mentioned them in the Giro preview as candidates for the podium, so not really that surprising.
Yeah, I already said some months ago, don't know when it was, that if Tao Gegenhardt rides on his level, he can hurt Roglic and Evenepoel, and I got some reactions on that, but I still think that. And I read that he now has a different trainer this season, and he trains less hours with more intensity, so more the modern training thing, and that obviously pays off and gets him back to his 2020 form, which is great to see.
So you think Hart will be able to compete with Evenepoel and Roglic on a monstrous mountain stage the coming weeks?
Yes, the potential for it. I don't know if he's in that 2020 form, but if you look at the time trial, that's very promising, because that's the time trial above his level in my eyes. So I hope to see that. Yeah, I am pretty confident that he has the potential, but whether he is on that top shape right now, that's difficult to say, but I hope so.
This might be the first hot pick of this episode,
Dieter, something else. You already mentioned the name of Brendan McNulty, who had some problems with his transponder, I think, in the time trial. Could you explain?
Yeah, I was watching the time trial, and I saw like that he was 25 seconds faster than Jay Fine, or who was there. I was like, what is this? And then the other climbers went over it, and they went full gas. and McNulty was still 25 seconds faster. And I looked back to how McNulty rode the climb, and it didn't look that fast. And I was like, huh? So I looked at the Strava data after the ride, and it was just wrong. So I tweeted it out, and it went pretty viral, like 150,000 views, and it got corrected a day later.
So you were the guy
maybe I
discovering
have
the mistake
influence.
of Giro d'Italia. McNulty was wearing the blue jersey. You discovered it was wrong.
Yeah.
What a boss.
It's not gonna like you. Like you.
We've talked about some strong riders already, but there was also some bad performances. One of those came from Hugh Carty, who was, I think, the worst GC rider. Yeah, Carty lost 1 minute and 56 seconds. Yves, I think you texted me. His Giro is over. His GC is over.
Well, he lost 2 minutes, if I recall correctly, in that first time trial, a little bit less than 20 Ks. And now on Sunday, if I recall correctly, the second time trial, it's even longer. So he will lose almost 10 minutes if it goes like it was the first stage. And then it's impossible. Yeah, he can be 11th or 10th or something, but he should better go for a stage win. But I see Dieter is disagreeing once again.
Yes, with that bonkers final week, Ugarte is only gonna get stronger and stronger, and he's gonna boss the final week and only step up in GC. It's not like he's gonna overtake Remco Evenepoel or Primož Roglič, but he's going to step up in GC, and he's, I think, still going to get away with a very high classification.
But isn't he peaking too early? He was already at a decent or a very good level in Romandie or in Tour of the Alps. I don't remember anymore.
Tour of the Alps it was.
Tour of the Alps.
And now it's still 2 weeks to go till that bonkers week is coming. So isn't that too long of a period to keep his form?
I think Ugarte is like one of those riders that needs immense volume to get in that top shape, and needs a lot of racing. That's why he's always at his best shape in the last week of the Grand Tour. So I think if you look at Roglič and Evenepoel, did way better watts in Catalonia, if I remember correctly. So you could say the same thing about them. Or Tao Geoghenaert was even better in Tour of the Alps. With Tao Geoghenaert, I have more doubt about that, to be honest, that he peaks too early. But with Ugarte, I don't.
Is Ugarte still a strong contender for top 5 for you, Dieter?
Yeah.
For you, he isn't, Yves.
No.
Interesting, isn't it? Let's move over to stage 2, a sprint stage where Jonathan Milan took the win. And we saw a rather surprising top 5. The guy who would have predicted this one. With Jonathan Milan, Dekker, Groves, Arne Maritz and Meyerhofer all in top 5.
Yeah, definitely not a top 5 you would predict in a Grand Tour opening sprint stage. It was a little bit of a disrupted sprint, of course, with the big crash with 3.5 kilometers to go. I think Cavendish hit the deck there. Pedersen was held up. So some of the bigger names weren't there. But in the end, the power on Jonathan Milan in that sprint was mind-boggling.
What a beast, if you look at him.
Yeah, that's
puts out 2,000 watts. It's crazy. I can't imagine that. Like, if you saw, there was a video where they recorded them from the side, and when Milan started sprinting, I just felt for the bike. Was insane. And like another surprise for a lot of people, Arne Maert in the top 5. I think it's just because he was never positioned well in Paris-Nice. He got 8 on stage, but he started sprinting like from position 30. So he sprinted past a lot of guys, and he did better watts than the guy who won the stage. I still remember. So he has the watts, but he didn't have the positioning until stage 2 then.
Bram, you already mentioned it, the Caden Groves incident with a little more than 3 kilometers to go, where the sprinter of Alpecin kind of pushed Davide Ballerini with his elbow, I think, causing a big crash in the peloton and also putting Remco Evenepoel and Primož Roglič in danger. I've heard some different opinions on the incident. If you say Groves shouldn't have been relegated, Dieter, you immediately said this is wrong. Do you still think that?
Yeah, like he said, I didn't use my hands. I kept my hands on the handlebar. I look back at the video. Clearly takes his hand off the handlebar, and he says that he had the feeling that Ballerini was going to ride him into the barriers, but he had plenty of place left, so it was just unnecessary and at least a regulation, in my opinion.
Yeah, he said that Ballerini kind of pushed him into the barriers. He apologized and said it was a defensive move from his side, but that's not enough for you.
Like, if I look back at the images, it's just also not everything what he says is true. So, like, yeah, just not enough for me now.
For you, Yves?
I also just don't think he needs to be there that forward. It's 3.6k to go, and in 600 meters, QuickStep is going to pull to the side because they've brought Remco into the last 3km, and then they stop pulling. And then the sprint trains can come. The fact that he was pushing so hard into that GC train is just not necessary at that point in the sprint prep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yves?
I agree with the fact that it's not necessary, and it's something that should not happen in a sprint. If you look at the rule book, does he need to be disqualified? Yes. But then the UCI is the king of doing different things in different cases with different persons. So if they penalize that move, they have to look back at every other sprint that happened and incident that happened in the last 5k, for example. But if I recall correctly, the sprint regulation don't count yet before the 3k mark, if I recall correctly. But it was a bit of a dirty move. But should it be relegated? No, because I think it happens a lot more in the peloton than we think. That when you look back at the final 10k where it was nervous, there were like a 5 or 6 lane road at one point, and they were pinched down to one. I was looking at the helicopter shots and I saw so much elbows and battling for positions. Where do you say that's over the limit, and where do you say we accept it? Because now there was a crash because it was only one bike lane and there was just no space. But if that should happen on a three lane where then there shouldn't be, probably there wasn't a crash.
I saw some curious takes as well after the incident on Twitter. People were saying that was no place for GC favorites to be at the end of a sprint stage. Do you guys agree with that take?
No. The UCI needs to change their rules then about the 3k rule, because if you have a GC man, you don't want to lose time, so you want to get in that final 3 kilometers. It's easy as that. You can't blame QuickStep for being there.
Put it at 5 kilometers then.
Yeah, I don't know where you have to put it, but they will ride till the point that they are safe, and you can't blame them.
About that 5 kilometer rule, Adam Hansen, the new safety CPA, or was it called? He is very involved with riders, and he did a survey whether GC riders should get a 5 kilometer rule in place of the 3 kilometer rule, and 95% said yes, so it will be implied in some time, but it's coming.
The fact that Mats Pedersen was held up by the incident and causing him to lose some important points for Maglia Ciclamino, Do you think it will influence the battle for the points jersey?
I think Caden Gross would have taken it anyway. We saw he climbed better than Mats too. That's was surprising for a lot of people, I think. When was it stage 3? Yesterday it was.
Yes, stage 3.
Oh.
But yeah, Gross is climbing better, but Pedersen was the big favorite for that Maglia Ciclamino, and it's a huge blow for him to lose that amount of points, because in stage 2 there were 50 points for the winner. In comparison to stage 3, there were only 25 points for the winner. Knowing there aren't really a lot of pure flat stages, that there are 50 points on the table, it's a blow for him for that classification for sure.
And maybe Michael Matthews can have a shot at it as well, the winner of stage 3.
Yeah.
What are his odds in your opinion? Who is the biggest candidate? For you, it's Caden Gross, Dieter.
Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising to me.
He's faster than Pedersen, I think. He climbs better than Pedersen now, we saw. So, for me, he's the favorite.
I think it's still a long Giro. I think
definitely.
Groves and Pedersen are those types of sprinters that can get the points after, a really tough stage. Whereas someone like Cavendish is not going to be able to do that, or Milan is like, they might win the stage, but they're not going to be able to win the points jersey. Personally, I'm really impressed with how Caden Gross is riding, especially uphill. But then again, you have the German sprinter, I forgot his name now, from UAE. Ackermann. He was climbing really strong as well. I don't think he was involved in the sprint, but the way he's climbing is insane, and maybe he can actually put in some good efforts.
At the moment, Ackermann,
he was on the break today.
Ackermann is climbing better than he's sprinting at the moment. I think UAE is just...
He was in the break today.
Was he? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty far into the race, like, and he was like, everyone, Mats was already dropped and the guy was in the break. I was like, what? Yeah, he's climbing way better than he's sprinting. Yeah, definitely.
In stage 3, we had some climbs in the final. It was INEOS Grenadiers setting a high pace on those climbs. Yeah, they really show they have a strong team in depth. Are they? Can they? Yeah, endanger Soudal-QuickStep as a team?
We're talking about stage 3, right?
Yes, we are.
Can they? I think INEOS on itself cannot endanger QuickStep, but if there is a coalition between several teams to ride against QuickStep, then it's possible. Knowing it, if you ride at the front, you need to produce a lot more power, and if QuickStep can just sit in the draft while INEOS is trying to drop a lot of domestiques, still the effort you have to do is less than a Sivakov who's pulling 100% at the front, for example.
But they can attack one after another, for instance.
They can, but that's not how they work at INEOS. They're still trying to stick with that mountain train thing. And Geraint Thomas isn't known as an attacker. He's more as a climber who just keeps a high pace for the climb and not really likes a lot of accelerations on a climb. Hart is more explosive, and otherwise the other riders don't really endanger Evenepoel.
Dieter?
Sivakov and Arnoldman already tried in the break today. They were both in the break today, and they still have 5 riders in INEOS within 2.5 minutes. We already saw some cracks in the QuickStep block today. If they can keep attacking, it's still a long Giro. If they can keep attacking, there maybe will be a time where QuickStep has no manpower left, and a guy from INEOS is off in the break, and it goes wrong for QuickStep. I do see that as an opportunity.
Considering we're talking about stage 3, I think it's also looking at the composition of the final group. INEOS was there with 5 riders. QuickStep was there with 5 riders. Although 2 of them did drop because of the sprint, they let go with the peloton. But so they were both pretty much equal in that group. So to say that they hurt QuickStep there, or they made a demonstration there or whatever, I don't think that's necessarily the case. In the higher mountains, I think they will have a little bit of an edge, but we've seen in the classic, in the Liège-Bastogne-Liège, we've seen a very good Van Wilder and Vervaeke. We've sort of seen Van Wilder struggle a little bit, but I think I saw an article at the end of today's stage where they said we let all of our domestiques go to the line easy. Not sure to what degree that's true or that's spin, but the fact that Van Wilder gave up 5 minutes does kind of mean something.
Dieter?
I meant stage 4, by the way, when I said Sivakov and Arendsmantel in the break and hurt QuickStep not in stage 3. And I was going to say another thing, but I got... QuickStep today that they let go their domestiques and easy. I think that's too big of a risk. Ilan van Wilder is exactly the same height as Remco Evenepoel. If he has a mechanical, he wants Ilan van Wilder with him so he can hop on his bike and go further. So it's definitely not on purpose. That's too big of a risk.
All right. At the end of stage 3, we also had 2 Alpecin riders within top 5, I think.
Oldani and
Caden Gross and Stefano Oldani. Yeah, that's not the smartest way of finishing a stage, I think.
They were quite badly positioned after that last corner, and Pedersen was in the hot seat with Mollema as a lead out. It was funny to see as well. But then Pedersen might have felt not too strong and waited a bit too long to open up his sprint. That way Matthews could come over. And I don't know what Oldani was doing. Was he trying to lead out Groves till the last 20 meters? Or it was quite strange because right before the line they almost crashed. They collided almost. I looked back at that images. It was quite funny to see actually. But yeah, I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they're going for the Maglia Ciclamino boat.
Bram?
It is quite funny to see climbers doing lead-outs for their sprinters in these stages, with a Mollema and an Oldani trying to do it. I definitely think that it's just a lack of experience in doing the lead-out. But yeah, I think Pedersen was just cooked in that sprint, to be honest, where I don't think he wanted to go that early either, but considering he got dropped in the final climb and had to bridge back a considerable gap, the fact that he was sprinting at all was, I think that was the most he could do. It was just completely cooked.
The funniest
a lot
picture
of people.
Go ahead, Dieter.
Yeah, a lot of people said that he should start his sprint earlier, but he needed to sit down 50 meters before the finish line. So if he would have opened up earlier, he would have needed to sit down with 150 to go. So that wouldn't have worked either. So
the funniest image of that stage was Mollema doing the lead out, and right before the final corner he was putting his glasses on the top of his nose because he couldn't see, and then he was doing a lead out like Healy wore his glasses in Brabant Spel, if I recall correctly. Quite funny to see.
We also need to mention a strong performance, in fact 2 strong performances by Albanese, ending up 2 times in 4th place in stages 3 and 4. That's nice for Iolo Cometa, isn't it?
He'll take a stage win in this Giro.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's very strong, and knowing this first part of the season he had a lot of trouble. He had an injury, and he only started his season in the end of March or the beginning of April, if I recall correctly. So I don't know how good his base fitness is to be able to compete in a 3 weeks Grand Tour. But we can all agree that his fitness level at this point is more than decent.
Dieter?
He can climb enough to survive those hard sprint days, which aren't even sprint days anymore some days, but he's like not fast enough to beat Matthews Pedersen, so he always gets consistent results as a 4th place, but it will be very hard for him to take stage, I think, because he has that top speed like the other guys have.
Bram?
Yeah. I think he's done 8 race days before coming to Giro. He's been in the top 6 in 6 of them. That's just incredible statistics. And he's now added 4 days and been in the top 5 of 2 of them. So just incredible consistency of that guy. And yeah, I'm very lucky to have him in my Wheeler manager team.
Me too.
See, tomorrow he's riding through his hometown, if I recall correctly. The stage for tomorrow, stage 5, goes through his hometown.
Yeah, today it was 15 kilometers away from his hometown to finish.
But he lied to us, Hans. He said he was targeting stage 5. So
that's why I benched him. I lost some points. But the guy is targeting Napoli stage as well, so keep an eye on it, folks.
The stage before Napoli, don't bench him.
One more thing about stage 3, the bonification sprint between Primož Roglič and Remco Evenepoel. Should we draw some conclusions from it, or was it nice to see?
Roglič is trying to make Evenepoel a bit nervous. If it's working, I don't know. But every bonification sprint, Roglič will show himself. But he didn't do any effort to try and beat Evenepoel in the line, and Evenepoel didn't have to do a lot of effort neither. But it was a little bit of nervousness, I think, once again. And if you do that every bonification sprint, it can become a little bit tiring after 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. But
Dieter, I see you disagree.
Yeah, Evenepoel, that was when he said that Evenepoel didn't put that big effort, because you saw Evenepoel going full and Roglič was pretty chill. So that's like the difference in, like he says, the difference in level of nervous. Like Evenepoel went full in the sprint and Roglič was like pretty calm. So that says a lot, I think.
All right. Yves, one more thing about stage 3.
I think we're dishonoring Jaco Alula a little bit for stage 3. The work that guys have been doing, in particular Zana, who has been riding very strong stage 3 and stage 4, but the whole team who worked very hard for Matthews, and Matthews to win it and thank his team in the most beautiful way. I think that's worth a mention today as well.
Lovely. Let's move over to stage 4. I think we can all agree about the fact that stage 4 was the nicest stage so far, wasn't it?
It's the first stage Soudal made a couple of mistakes. QuickStep, in my opinion.
Which
but
mistake
it was a lovely stage. At one point there was a break of 12 gone. 12 riders were gone, and there weren't really a lot of dangerous guys in there except McNulty. I'm looking at Dieter and I saw his conversation with Benji Austin on Twitter as well. The 12 men were gone, and Soudal-QuickStep chased them down 150%, burning Czerny and Ballerini, who had to drop after that effort. And I don't think that was really necessary to chase that down full. I know you're gonna say McNulty, don't give him 5 minutes, because he's a, how did you mention it again? A strange duck, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
but it's only stage 4, and McNulty will have a bad day between now and Rome. So if you give McNulty, he's 2 minutes 30 down.
More,
He was 2 minutes 30 down before the start of the stage today.
I think even more was
Or
something
even
like
more.
5 minutes, I think.
So if you give that break 5 minutes, it's not a real problem. So I don't know why they had to chase it that hard.
I saw people comparing the McNulty break with the break that eventually got to the finish, but the McNulty break was way stronger riders,
Yeah.
more riders, so it would be a lot harder to control. McNulty is, as I said, a strange duck. Like if Benjinasa said he wouldn't mind if McNulty got a 5-minute lead into the classification. I would never do that. McNulty, it's like when he gets that bonus, he will fully target GC, obviously, and it's like he's inconsistent, but on his good days, he is at the level of the absolute best. So I would never risk that, and I think was a smart decision
But
by QuickStep
between-
closing that.
Between now and Rome, there are still 17 stages. He is inconsistent, and the break would have never finished with a 10 minutes gap.
Yeah, but it was like I wasn't saying that here that the break would finish with a 10-minute gap. It was solely reacting on Benjinasa that he wouldn't mind McNulty having a 5-minute lead, which I would definitely not like if I was QuickStep.
And then the other small mistake was that they were chasing almost the full stage and keep that gap around the 4-minute mark. And I don't really know why they did that, because in the eventual break, who was fighting for the win, wasn't really a danger in there. So why did QuickStep keep on chasing quite hard?
I think even if you have a likeness into it, ended up taking the Maglia Rosa, you don't want to give him the 3 or 4 minutes either.
Yeah.
I personally don't know where he's going to end up in the GC. He's going for a GC, so making him lose multiple minutes in the mountains is going to be you don't want to put yourself in that competition and add yourself a competitor. Remco knows who his competitors are. Leknesson is not one of them, but he also doesn't want to create an extra one. So right now there's a bonus of 30 seconds. I think that's perfect. And the next CT or even on a mountain stage, that gap can be closed and Remco can take pink again if he wants, or if he's able to. Difference.
I completely agree with what Bram says. Leknesson is also how I call McNulty strange duck. Huge potential. Also has a good ITT. That's not the type of riders that you want to give an advantage. So I fully agree.
The peloton is full of ducks, right?
Back in the EF days, definitely.
I thought about that too.
If I recall correctly, there were even some GC men put in trouble at a certain point after the start of the stage.
I think
Was it
in
Almeida?
Almeida, yeah, and the descents. His descending in the wet, it's always been a bit bad, but it's showing again that it hasn't been solved yet. There were a couple stage races, I think the Vuelta of last year, where it looked all right. There were also not that many wet descents, but he seems to be really in trouble in those wet descents, and he's sacrificing some of his team to get him back on the flat.
It's a big issue for UAE because Jay Vine has a little bit of the same problem. His descending skills aren't that good, and at one point it was Almeida and Vine who were 25 seconds behind the front group with Evenepoel. So they can lose the GC in a descent if they aren't careful, and the weather for the coming stages doesn't seem to improve. Keeps on raining, so wet descents will happen, and Almeida doesn't show any confidence riding downhill. We saw him crash in stage 3 as well, and it was quite scary to see him trying to catch back up because a couple of riders within his team that were in front of him were a little bit shaky as well, and that full UAE train was doing some weird stuff. So yeah, they will
also
not
have to
attack.
watch out for their own car.
Yeah, that was
That's not the first time with Fine. In the 2021, Vuelta crashed with the Alpecin car when he was in the breakaway. Still got third somehow. Like today again, that's like a bit disadvantage from not having ridden a lot in the peloton.
Yeah, I saw a bold tweet from Michal Simeon on Twitter saying Vine can podium if he stays upright, but I don't see him staying upright, and that's might
big risk
be.
with him. Yeah,
Evenepoel needs to stay on his bike, but I think Vine, it's as big of a danger that he crashes out, in maybe even a bigger danger than Evenepoel.
yeah, agree.
All right. I think we can also agree about the fact that Aurélien Paré-Peintre made the Giro of AG2R Citroën team very successful after stage 4 already. And I need to be honest, I didn't expect that team to take the stage win. I think our prediction was a little harsh.
I think you guys called them underwhelming and not sure what to expect from them. So I think they've already proven that they're here with a mission. And I think they'll be already very happy with their Giro.
We have Leknesund in pink. How long will he wear it? A little prediction.
Friday.
Yeah.
He's losing it Friday.
I thought so too. Friday
what
is
is
stage 2 Campo Imperatore, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
How steep is that final ramp? I can't.
That seems quite steep.
That's tough. Yeah. It will be tough, yeah.
All right. To Yves, you wanted to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. To finish this episode, we'll wait with that because Dieter has something to say.
Yeah, sorry, I just saw a tweet from Vellon from the watts of Leknesund today. He did exactly 400 watts for the last 17 minutes. That's what I wanted to say.
And what is your opinion on that as a data expert?
Not that much, to be honest. I think he's around 70. Yeah.
That's easy. I'm doing that every day on training.
No, he's around 70 kilos, I think. So that's not 6 watts per kilo. So I think crazy.
Now he'll
After a
definitely
very
lose the pink
hard
jersey.
stage.
If we're gonna compare everything to 6 watt per kilo, then a lot of bad riders are in the peloton.
Well, that's really isn't super great, though.
All right. To finish this episode, I'm going to do a round of your favorite moments so far in these 4 first stages.
Oh, the egg from Velasco in
The egg.
Evenepoel's back
There
pocket.
goes my moment.
But just
Bram?
Milan van Wilder had to smash that egg when it was in the back pocket, and it would be perfect.
I think it's the moment where I heard the advantage of. I was driving in the car on Sunday or Saturday during this time trial, and I just had the radio on and heard that Evenepoel had 29 seconds on Roglič at time point 1, and I was like, holy shit. So yeah, that's my moment. I was like, damn, he's ready.
Dieter?
I think it's Arne confirming what he has in him. I think he still has a lot more, though. He said in an interview after stage 2 that he had the legs to win, and I believe that because I looked at his watts too, and I compared it with Euro sprinters. So I'm hyped to see what he can do in this Giro?
Bram?
Actually, I just want to say something about Marit. He also has himself on his wheeler manager team, which I think is such a baller move.
Exactly. And he got himself points too, so even more ball.
If can I have a bonus round? Because
A bonus round.
something else pops in my mind.
Go ahead.
I was doing the live on Sunday, boring stage, and what did I saw on my screen? The Remco hype train following the peloton for kilometers, kilometers and kilometers. And the
Choo-choo.
first
There's a
one,
trophy on it.
choo-choo, and I was thinking about Bram, and
And that was your moment.
That
that
was
you really
my
liked.
second biggest moment of this Giro.
Okay.
What's your moment, Hannes?
Yeah, as I said, I didn't expect you to pick the egg moment. But looking back at it now, one hilarious moment was Konishev. He was in the break with his Koratek teammate, and the moment they left, Konishev looked behind, and no one was coming. So they were in for a 210-kilometer ride, and he was like, "Oh damn, this is it, the two of us for today."
Here we go again.
It was
pretty-
kind of funny.
They rode pretty fast though. I looked at the average, like I was wondering what those two were doing. It was like 44 average, and they were already riding more than 100 kilometers.
Yeah.
So
They,
pretty
they
impressive.
would have dropped Lignesund with that pace.
No,
All right,
Two other strange ducks. Those
Bram,
Koratek guys.
The floor is yours.
that's true.
All right. That's a wrap for today's Domestique Cycling Podcast. A big thank you to our audience for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi. The link is in the description. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
I've got the spots, the sick.